Hello, everyone, and welcome to our testimonial call. More specifically, today we're going to be talking to some clients that have really, really generously shared their time with us here today. They are busy people. So I'm very, very grateful that they're here to share their experience. Now, before we go into their stories and asking them some questions, hello, Gesa, I just want to highlight that I've added some more client stories. We really have quite a broad spectrum of clients, people quite different. And that's really been done on purpose because we never wanted to create an echo chamber, right? We wanted to actually embrace diversity. That being said, everyone is definitely has similar values. I would say that that's something that unites people, and we'll speak about that as we go through. But on Million Dollar Healer, I've added Shakti's story. And I've also added Sandra's story. Shakti's story is more around manifestation, how she sold a 22K offer, how she made 22,000 in 22 days. You know, I think that she talks about a 30K week in that video. She talks really about manifestation. And then Sandra talks more about her personal level of transformation. She lost her mother a month before the in-person last year. And she really talks about how doing the processes deeper unlocked a new level within her. And she talks about psychic abilities and everything coming online. She mentioned that yesterday on Million Dollar Next Steps. So I've done this so you guys can see we've also got Christy in the Shamanic Map, who's more going from corporate tech world to actual dream career and realizing that actually within her, it's more about being a star and being a musician and having a message and being a speaker, right? So, as you can see, our clients are different. And today we've got two people who, again, two different stories. Natalia comes from wealth management, and then she can share a little bit about her story, realized that that wasn't the way for her. And so she started embracing the wellness lifestyle. She then joined the certification to upgrade her skill set. She was already doing something called Wellness 360. And now she is even more of a ninja with the resources and tools that she's got. Gracie comes more from Gracie. I was writing this in the email today and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get this right. Like performance, body, movement, because you do so many physical modalities, correct? But the deepening for you were the other planes. So we'll start there. Okay. And if you also watch, we've got a group testimonial call from the last in person. We had a small group of us, and you can see, we've got Eva, who's a holistic architect. We really appeal, I'd say, to professionals. And that I'm going to leave as generally as I can. But Gracie, I'd love you to come on and share a little bit about what you were doing transformation wise. We're going to have a bit of a conversation more so than business. I want to really speak to actually the healing work per se. Um, what has been the biggest shift from you going from more physical body transformational skills to adding the emotional mental body, the spiritual body, and the energetic body? And then the question that I want to just with that connect with that is really how did practicing these modalities shift your internal reality and shift your understanding of healing per se? Because a lot of our clients don't just join because they want to be healers. Our clients join because actually they want to go through this personal rebirth. And the certification really is peeling off layers for a year. So I'm going to pass it over to you.
Yeah, awesome. So I think for me, yes, I've been doing a lot of the movement work with people, and I help a lot of people kind of resolving physical pains and injuries and things. And I've always seen the psychosomatic link, and I've always kind of been aware of it and delved into that range when I was supporting people, but I never really felt like I actually had like systems that when I was delving into this work that's less like systematic, like the emotional world and the energetic world was this like very abstract thing. So being able to support people in navigating through change in that was never something I quite felt very confident in. Whereas
Mhm.
now that's like my favorite thing to be guiding people in. And it's been such a shift with supporting people, but then also with supporting myself. And so second part of the question being like, how did that impact my own healing?
Mhm.
I think I think it's mainly because like when I first started working with you, Hannah, I was like, I get it. I've researched this. Like I understand this from an intellectual level, but the missing piece was, for me at least, was like the practical element of it, of like actually living and experiencing the education so that it's now like actually manifesting into my life. And that was a real gap, which I think, especially the way that you teach, where it's consistent, there's so much to delve into. I could really immerse myself into like the doing of things. And I think that's been the biggest change for me.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for that, Gracie. There was such good points there. Gracie's one of those people that I think because you've had a little bit of this background before, and a lot of people come to us with some form of background, whether they've done the global uni with me prior or they've done some other form of modality. Some people don't, obviously. But what I really appreciated from what you just said is that we hear this, the emotional work, feel it, that's very nondescript. You can get lost in your feelings, right? It's like, corporate wellness programs saying, remember to look after yourself, remember to feel your feelings. And very often we can be like, and how? So all of the processes that we teach are very, very structured and they get people to that transformation. It's not just feeling their feelings, they're clearing the patterning in their body and they're shifting into a new reality. And that's a whole different game. That's the first thing. The second thing that Gracie just said, we have so many people that do the global uni because it's like their first step. They're like so mind blown by all of the blueprints. They're so mind blown by all of the processes, but the global uni is very self-led. So when Gracie is talking about it's very focused on doing, the certification is the only place that we hold a frame of accountability in the sense that you can't watch me do a demo of a trauma healing and then not complete one in your whole year, right? And so we experience a lot of resistance to transformation. It's very normal for people to feel, sometimes even more resistance to change than to the financial investment. But the beauty with the certification, which is in distinction to everything else we do, and it's the reason that the price point is the price point, is that you will practice. You will practice and you will grow to love it. You will practice receiving the sessions and you will practice facilitating the sessions, right? And the reason that clients, because Gracie's locked in for next year and so is Natalia, I think this is the first time that everyone that was on a year one certification last year is doing it for year two. Just like everyone, just appreciate that for a second, okay? It's because it's not something that you complete. Now you can say, I've got all of these tools, I've got all of these things, and I'm done, and that's perfectly fine. And I have had clients in the past do that. And then they text me and they say, I'm still using the processes and practices. But what we're actually doing is an internal deepening every single year. And every single year, we're kind of getting more solidified in the processes and practices that we teach. So, Gracie, I would love to hear what do you think have been the most transformational things for you personally, as a receiver of this work and as a facilitator of this work over the last year?
That's such a good question. I would say, as a receiver of this work, what's been the most transformational? There's been so much, and my brain goes to the different like sessions that I've had like inside with other people for the in-person. But I think the most transformational thing that's been happening for me on a personal level is quite literally the biggest like insight into my own subconscious world when we're moving through these processes. I think as
Mhm.
people that have been maybe doing the work for a little while, you can think that you're aware of what's going on in your subconscious mind and what your patterns are. But actually, some of the processes and the practices helped you go like beyond what your conscious mind thinks it is and actually gets deeper into the root. And it's been really great seeing that. And I think that actually crosses over to probably what I love supporting people with. I tend to support people that have been doing the work for a little while. And so they're like, yes, this is my problem. And actually now I feel like I'm not like stuck at that meeting them there. I feel like I can help guide them a little bit deeper and we can actually find what the real problem is.
It's funny because as you're talking about that, I was thinking about the last in person where I think I said this to you guys in person. I said the people that have already done the work are the worst clients because and there's all my clients that, right? Because like we've learned we're like, oh yeah, my money thing's happening because my granddad was lost all his. So we create all of these stories and we think that we're being hyper aware. But what I love about the certification is it cuts through all of what you think that you know and you actually find the roots, right? And so that's why the in-person is so profound, because people literally do walk in and then leave as someone else, because you do so many processes that you don't just get beyond the conscious mind, you go so deep into stuff that you could never imagine that was there through conscious thought. Whether it's someone having an experience where they're connecting with loved ones that have passed away, or someone receiving a past life memory, or someone receiving an ancestral memory. Like, not all of this happened this last year, but it happens every single year that people have these kind of abilities come online. And actually, to speak to you, Gracie, actually, I think the thing that's been most transformational about you, obviously, I know you, so I'm going to use this certification testimonial call to tell you what I think it is. I think the biggest shift, whether you'd like that or not, I think the biggest shift that I've seen in you, and actually let me pin this because maybe you can only see Gracie speaking right now, and then I'll get rid of the pin just for the recording. The biggest shift that I've seen in you is that when you began in business, you were very much doing these like bundles of movement packages. It was all, through wellness companies. It was all quite, in terms of cost, lower ticket end, right? And what I've seen happen to you is that there's almost this identity piece that's come online of like, wait, no, I can create something bigger. I can create something different. And so Gracie and her partner are now launching their first digitalized course. They've moved to fucking Thailand. They were in the UK before. So like, let's actually talk about some of the big wins that Gracie's had, right? And sometimes we need other people to like, flex for us. So I'm going to flex for Gracie, right? She was living in the UK, working in a gym. I'm sure you had many clients that you loved, and it wasn't that things were bad, right? But you knew that you wanted something different. And as we have this conversation, you're living in Thailand, correct, with your partner, and you're launching the first ever cohort of a digitalized program that, and that's happening. I think that's been on the back burner for a long time, but something shifted this year where things that have been on the back burner are now actually in action. Is that fair, Gracie?
Yeah, completely. And I think one, it's nice to receive, so thank you. And two, on that, it's not even just that we're doing the things more now. It's like, because me and my partner launched a course like maybe 3 or 4 years back, and the journey of doing that, of like working alongside your partner, was full of like, if business is already a spiritual awakening, like doing it with your partner as well is like a whole thing. And that time round, like the emotional patterns that came up that were always kind of self-sabotaging, and just like the interpersonal dynamics while we were building, were a lot more stressful. Whereas like now, like we've moved in the last like 3 weeks, we're launching the company, and everything just feels a little bit more harmonious. I feel like I can show up a lot more like accountable for myself. Whereas I think I was playing a little bit more of just like in overwhelm, or a little bit more of a victim. Like I feel a lot more like um able to hold myself, and also able to just like regulate myself through my own stuff. Like if something's popping up, I'm like, cool, I need to go and do a process right now, like, and I can separate my own problems to like the business problems. And I think that that has been really, really powerful.
It's so good what you've just said. So thank you for sharing that, because interpersonal stuff is the number one thing that comes up for people. I think that's fair to say. And a lot of people come in thinking, oh, they're going to work on the business. And then they realize they actually need to work on their relationships, or they actually need to work on their own patterns, or they actually need to work on processing something that's happened, right? And so many people think that business and success and all these things about knowing what to do, but it's actually about knowing and having the actual resources to discover why within you that's not happening, where you're leaking power away, and cleaning that up rapidly. And I think that's the ability that people leave with. Let's talk about the in-person experience, because something that I really pride myself on, I think, within our certification trainings, all of our in-person trainings, is that it very quickly feels like a little family, and we don't really have any conflict. I don't know if there was any conflict in the in-person. There was not a smidge, right? There's not, any things that you see in big groups. I've been on a lot of business trainings, and you see all of these dynamics play out. And I think the reason that it doesn't happen specifically in the certification space, but actually in all of our spaces, is because people are so resourced internally with the tools to actually, process in a healthy way. It's not that people don't get triggered because we're human beings, but um, people know how to communicate. Everyone knows how to handle conflict. So these are the things that we really drive home within the certification training, which I think make a massive difference for life quality, but also make it a very safe group to be part of. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. It's not even just like you have people that are more like-minded, you have people that are able to take accountability for themselves. So like the idea of being conflict there was just like, of course there wasn't. But also like because this is a certification that covers so many different aspects and people are coming from different places. I just remember in the in-person sitting around the table and being like, wow, like I want to learn from everyone here. Like everyone was bringing their own unique element into it. And that was really nice. As someone that's done like lots of different trainings, we're all kind of there like for the same thing. But even though we were learning the same thing, it felt like we were all kind of there for our different reasons and bringing our own elements to it. And that was really, really special, actually.
I agree with that, and it was actually very interesting this recent cert training because we did it in actually the house that I'm in Airbnb right now, which is funny in itself, right? Doing the cert launch in the house that we did I like that, right? And there's something cute about that. But I would go back to my house where I was living prior, which is just across the road, and I'd come back the next morning, and it was honestly, it was like walking into a group of friends that had known each other for years. And Grace would be like, I've been doing, mobility scans on everybody. Natalia had been talking about like all of these different wealth moves that they could do. Eva was bringing her feng shui knowledge. Like, do you know what I mean? Like everyone was bringing like all of these little skill sets. So it was like, what's so beautiful is you're getting resourced not just by the certification, but by the group of people within the certification. And I think when you're an entrepreneur and you're building something, or you're someone that doesn't, because not everyone is an entrepreneur. And I know, and I think it's really important to say that you're someone that wants to build a different life. You want to break generational patterns. You want to live in maybe a different way to what's normal, right? Because what's normal is burnt out, tired, complaining in a job that you hate until you retire and then you die, right? So, like, no one within the certification is signing up to that. That's not what they want. And so everyone is interesting. And I think that's a really beautiful point. And we just come back from Morocco and it was the same thing. I was like, I was facilitating, and I'm going to be honest, I mean, I was exhausted at the end because it's long days of. Geyser actually said it. She was like, the emotional processing is more tiring than the other 5 days together. It is actually true. I actually felt like I was on holiday. And I know that's so weird to say because I'm working, but it's because we're having so much fun. Geyser's put true in the chat. Okay, Gracie, is there any final snippet of information that you feel like people need to hear if they're considering the certification? Gracie, delightfully, has taken time out of her dinner for us. So she's going to share this and then she's going to go eat because we understand how important food is.
The thing that was coming through as I was hearing you speak was one of the things that I've really appreciated from the cert, which it might be slightly random, but I think it's given me a lot of value. One, there's connections, but like as I was, for example, moving through the change of moving to Thailand, someone from the cert like ever offers to do a session because she assumes that I might be moving through something. And so like it's not just the practice in facilitation, but also having the ability to be practiced on, and like knowing that you're getting guided through like a set system that you know works, like that being practiced on is being really, really beneficial for me to just have that continuous exposure of doing the work. Again, it's that repetition. And I think that's been a real pleasure, I think, to have got to do over this last year, all of the practice rounds.
Honestly, like the other people in the certification become your greatest assets. Like imagine a pattern coming up, you can text someone in the certification, you do a practice session, and then it's no longer a thing. That's like that level of community. And again, because everyone's done the same training, no one's judging you. Everyone fucking gets it, right? There's a give and a take. And every time you give and receive a certification session, it's like more of your spiritual gifts are coming online, more of your supernatural powers are coming online. There's more awareness of manifestation from an embodied sense, which means that you actually live it from a known, experienced way instead of an intellectual way, right? Um, and yeah, this is why I say to people, it's like you cannot leave unless you decide to buy the certification, don't come to a single class, disappear off planet Earth, and never talk to anyone. If you don't do that, which I do not recommend doing, right, and you actually do the certification, even if you do it imperfectly, okay? Because we're coming out of this like I'm a good girl, good boy way. It doesn't matter if you miss one class, but obviously if you come to none, you know, it's like joining a gym and then never going to the gym, okay? But if you actually do the certification, like you cannot come out unchanged. And I'm going to use that as a really great opportunity to bring in Natalia and invite her. Thank you so much, Gracie. I really appreciate your time. I hope you have a lovely dinner. And I'm going to unpin you. Uh, oh, let me pin Natalia. Boom. Okay. So, Natalia, different background. I'm going to give a little bit of context to Natalia, and fingers crossed, Natalia, you're going to agree with this. You feel free to not agree. Natalia, I met Natalia personally because we live in a similar region. We live on the coast in Spain, and we were we were in the car one day and she was telling me about stuff in business that I'm obviously not going to share. And I just had this feeling like you're going to do so well in our community and you're going to do so well in the certification. And Natalia has I mean she's not a beginner. She's been in wealth management, she's been in business for a long time. She's run different things, she's run retreats, she's done things, but she experienced quite a challenging year of life losing her father, right? And there was a setback there because we aren't taught in our society how to process grief. Like that's actually a thing. Like there's not really a space in, and I would actually love Natalia to speak to this personally as well, to process big hard life transitions, and especially when it's the loss of someone in family, and it could be maybe our first major loss, then of course it impacts business. And so it's crazy to think that our own personal development doesn't impact our success. It's like it's so intertwined. Our well-being is so intertwined to the well-being of our life, right? And so, because obviously I lost my mother in my mid late 20s, I understood that experience and I understood the work that we do and how it could benefit. And I think Natalia's gone through a massive rebirth in what she's even does in a business sense. And it's actually been really extraordinary to see her. I'm going to use the word birth. Sorry for you more corporate people listening to this that turned off by the word birth, but I'm going to use it. And I've seen her birth really this new project, which is probably the most aligned business thing that you've ever done. And it's really come through this journey of connecting to yourself in this new, deeper way and processing everything that's happened to this point. I'm going to pass it over to you, Natalia. Do you think this is a fair introduction? Have I missed anything?
No, you were quite spot on, Hannah. And excuse my voice today because I've come down with a bit of a cold, but I'm really glad I could be here today. But that was exactly it. I had never experienced any kind of grief like that. And the way that it happened, it was so awful. And it did like it really, I just couldn't get out of it. And no matter how many modalities that you have, there's always things that you don't know. Like you don't know what you don't know. And so that was I don't believe in coincidences. I think that's why and how we met in the first place. And yeah, it was exactly what I needed, even though I didn't know I needed it.
Mm-hmm. But it's sometimes like that because I say to people, I'm like, I know you need this because I've worked with so many people for so long period of time, and it's like sometimes in your mind the little limiting thought comes up, oh, they're just going to think that you're selling to them, but really it's like I know that this is going to help you. And actually, you listened to me, which was really delightful, right? You didn't go, shut up, Hannah. Who are you? And she's staying, right? And in contrast to how you came in, Natalia, let's speak about like how brilliant this year has been. There's this new business project that's come online. You've got married, which was amazing. I actually went to Natalia's wedding, and I can tell you it was absolutely, oh, it was just so wonderful. It was so perfect. All Natalia's like luxury, because she works in the luxury field. You could see it, and it was so tasteful, and it was so beautiful. It was honestly, it was so much fun. But I would love to hear the fruits of the work that you've been doing this year, whether they be external or internal. I think you've had a bit of a health journey as well, no?
Yeah, I lost about 20 pounds this year. So I put a lot on after dad passed. And, one of the things that I really realized, or one of the patterns that came up again for me, was like relationship to food, emotional eating. So that's like a very personal thing that you don't really talk about in your business circles. And I think, one of the things that I really believe in is, I don't even like to call myself a coach anymore, but coaches have coaches for a reason. Leaders have circles for a reason. Leaders have mentors for a reason. And you don't get anywhere on your own. And once you start to realize that, if you haven't realized that already, you really start to become open to the opportunities that are coming through to you. And it was interesting because right after COVID, I had started this retreat club, because that's how I kind of came back to life after I transitioned from wealth management. And it was retreats, but it was this Wellness 360 framework that you were touching on before. And I really had come back to life again because I gave myself the opportunity to prioritize me and really step into that next, I don't even want to say chapter, but it was this next evolution of who I was becoming in order to do the thing that my soul was calling for. And I come from a corporate background. I get how this can sound, but it is like this, like it was just this inner voice, this inner calling that I just could not ignore anymore. And it felt like a very pivotal moment. And, coming, like meeting you, dad passing, the let me just backtrack because I had started that retreat club in 2020, at the end of 2021, just after COVID. And I was like really excited. And then 2 years after, dad's death like really rocked me. And I was like, what is happening? And everything felt like a struggle, like an uphill battle. And it was like that same feeling I was feeling when I was like made that leap from corporate. And people would say, "Oh my gosh, you're committing career suicide," um, and I could have literally wrote my own job description back then. We were going through a restructure, and I was just like, "This isn't lighting me up. This isn't filling me with joy." So, one of the biggest things is like that spark coming back, and that is something that I was like, where did it go? Like, what happened? And it didn't matter what I did. I just fell further and further into this state of being that I was like, I need to come out of this. And how do I come out of this? And everything that I was coming across just wasn't aligned. It wasn't lining up for me. And this year has been so transformative. And you mentioned it earlier about the embodiment. And that for me was really missing because I'm like, I've always had this pattern of being very like intellect driven. I love learning. And I think that's very true from a lot of people that join us here, join you. But there's only so much the mental intellect can do for you. You know, it is that energetic lived experience, that not just saying it, but being it and really stepping into that being and really seeing or being shown a mirror to what I was like really ignoring, avoiding, thinking, I've done that already, that can't be it. But patterns have a way of coming back, don't they? Or like resurfacing in a different way. And so, I mean, this year we've launched the Legacy Leader Collective. We've got a lot of new members, but it wasn't ever about going, it wasn't about bringing in many members, but it was about being intentional. And I think one of the biggest transformations for me this year was really stepping into that authority and that energy of like, no, I am the magnet. I am here to bring these women together who are creating incredible businesses, but they're also leaving legacies that are gonna not just be something that they leave behind, but they're gonna be something that they leave people with. And it's just extraordinary, the conversations that have come out. I mean, it's generational. We introduced a student here into one of our philanthropic partners, and she's raised so far, I think, 2,400 euros, which is going to change 133 lives in the south of Africa. And to think of that ripple effect, because you give a woman her life back there, that changes her family, that changes her community. And gosh, like, she could send her kids to school, she can now start her own business. You know, you are changing the trajectory of the world as we know it. And I think I'm not alone. When you turn on the news, you're thinking like, some things you see and you're like, how did we get here? How have we not learned? And I think it is that, you know, that collective rising. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, or that term being thrown around, but it does really feel like that. And it was that, I don't even know if the word is permission, but it is like stepping into that energy of like, no, you're doing this, you're leading this movement. And I didn't have I don't know, like, it's not confidence. It just was like that frequency. It comes down to that frequency. Like, it wasn't high enough for me to hold that space and be that magnet and be that beacon. And so that's like been massive for me. And yeah, being able to, like, marriage, it's not that but I was never one of those girls that was like, oh, I can imagine my dream wedding. I actually had the most unhealthiest relationships before I left wealth management, and that's always been like an ongoing thing for me. But it really was incredible to just.
Natalia was also the most relaxed bride that has ever existed on planet Earth. Every myth that you've heard about bridezillas, every myth that you've heard about it being a stressful time, every myth that you've heard about, like, oh no, I've never seen anyone like Natalia, literally, because, you know, she looked like she just floated the whole day away. Like, she was like on some cloud, literally. And it was so beautiful to see, because even within how you lived your wedding, you chose the story of what that was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And everyone was like, oh, are you stressed? Oh, are you this? Are you that? I'm like, no, I'm actually enjoying it. Even after we got married, people are like, oh, you guys are still together? Are you still happy? It's like, what is happening? Like, I'm just so surprised about this question. Like, yes. No, but I mean, yeah, it really is all about your state of being. So
And
powerful.
let's speak to this, because getting your spark back is not a small thing. There are things that we experience in our life that can make us feel that even though everything on paper is fine, hi Maya, did you want to be on the live? You know, everything on paper can be fine, because when you started working with me, Natalia, it wasn't that anything was inherently wrong. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, I'm in this rock bottom place. It was just this feeling of things had happened and it had been hard, and you were experiencing the consequence of that. And so we have a lot of people that come that it's like we've just experienced things. Maybe it's motherhood, maybe it's a burnout, maybe it's changing career, maybe it's a loss, maybe it's grief, right? And so that stacks. Nothing is inherently wrong, but that stacks, right? And so this what the certification does, you talk about the intellectualization of personal development versus the embodiment. The certification is truly forced embodiment for a year, right? So it's like, you will look at this, you will release this, it will be done. And that's why I say with the in-person, and I should stop saying this because it doesn't sell it, but it's true. In the in-person, I say, I love the in-person for the certification because it's like, you can't run from me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to see through this stuff. The stuff's going to come up, and we're going to speak to it. It's going to be brilliant, right? So I think getting your spark back, the most extraordinary, relaxed, beautiful wedding, beginning, I think, beginning a business that's actually aligned with this next chapter. Because the retreat business, it was a phase, but it wasn't where you were going, because the goal and the mission was bigger. And you've just spoken to it, like what actually changed for you was identity. Because when I met Natalia, you were allowing yourself to be, I'm going to use the word used. So lots of unequal collaborations, lots of people. And because you were so nice all of the time, there are a lot of people taking from you, and it wasn't compensating. And so the big shift is you being like, actually, I'm not a supporting character. Do you know what I mean? That's lifting you up, an infinite well of giving. It's like you became like, actually, I don't like to use the word main character because it's quite cliche, but you became solid. And I remember you saying at your wedding, you realized, oh my God, so many people want to be with me. Look at how many people, because, I think you had 70% of the guests there. You had how many nationalities at your wedding? It was so cool. How many
It was like
nationalities were there?
16 or something like that. Yeah,
You know,
it was
it was
incredible.
right. So there's all of these nationalities, and so there's this big shifted belief of like, actually, people want to come for me. Like, I'm the one. People want to come for me. And that internal shift, because you've said it's all about the being and the frequency, the version of Natalia that began the certification wouldn't have the business kind of things that you're doing now happening for her. But because of this shift that you've had internally, I think it's fair to say the growth of this new endeavor is quite natural, light, and fun, right? Which
Yeah,
is not how it felt prior.
that is 100% correct. Um, it feels so fun and light and easy. Like, and it was like, when you wait for the ball to drop and you're just like, come on, when is it gonna happen? And it just was there one day, and it was um, just, yeah, being in that and just allowing yourself to receive. I think that's a big thing, because you heard it from Gracie. It's not just studying and the certification. It is practicing. It is embodying. It is connecting with others who are passionate about um, a more holistic approach. And I have holistic frameworks, but this is different. It's and I felt that it was that next thing that I needed, um, to really, yeah, anchor in on my personal power, and stand
Mm.
tall in it.
Why do you think that it's different? If you knew, what would it be? Why is it different? How is it different?
Different. Sorry, what do you mean?
Because you
Like,
just said
yeah.
you've done holistic work before, but this is different.
Okay. It's really the methods that we use that are different.
Mhm.
Like when I think of inner child, when I think of um, the energetic, like the
Good part.
shamanic map.
Mhm.
Um, it's a whole other framework.
Mhm.
Um, and in the in person, when we actually went through the different bodies,
Mhm.
and you really start to identify and see where you are in the process. And shamanic mapping, like, I had no idea what that was. I've seen the
Mhm.
word every now and again, but I didn't truly realize how life changing it would be.
Mhm.
Um, it's a totally different. It is that embodied practice, and I'm going to say that again, but I don't think, like, none of the things that I had studied before went that deep.
Mhm.
And it was a real privilege, honor, like, it was a real gift to self to be able to go through the different bodies, see, understand, and use them as that mirror for
Mhm.
myself, but also for clients. Um,
Mhm.
but more so for myself, because um, I mean, that's why I did my original certification in the first place, was like, it wasn't to use it for somebody else, it was for me. And I think if
Yeah.
anyone's thinking, oh, this is just a business thing or a business opportunity, no, it is gift to self. It is your opportunity to really step into who you are becoming, and achieve whatever it is that you feel that little voice is telling you.
100%. No, I love that. And I think the distinction is that we work with the body, not just, this is more, I'm going to say something for people that are more in the holistic world. We don't just create catharsis, we create transformation. And transformation is where something physiologically has changed, either on a cellular level, an energetic level in your energy body, or a neurological level. And so we're very focused on actual completion of transformation during the certification. And so that's why people feel that we go deeper. By the way, if I look like I'm looking at a weird thing, it's because my dog has decided that it's very important for her to be with me here today. So she's like licking my feet as I'm speaking. Um, and yeah, I want to say that again. Like, we have a lot of people, you guys have seen Christie's video maybe, that have done it for themselves. And we've also got a lot of people that come from different industries, because just because we're teaching something that might, frighten you, something like, talking about, shamanic medicine, we think of ayahuasca and vomiting and all of these things. We teach it in a way that's really tangible and practical. Therefore, you can actually apply it, right? And I think that's where a lot of spiritual stuff can go wrong, because it's so up in the ethers, that actually the application of it in your life is not simple. So I think you've shared a lot of amazing things. Maya, what are you doing, darling? You've shared a lot of amazing things. Is there anything else that you want people to know that are considering the certification? I mean, you'll be with Natalia next year. So,
Yes,
you guys will all meet.
I think you would, if you feel it as a full body yes, it's a full body yes. Like, don't let any, don't let anything else that doesn't feel true to what you're feeling about this opportunity distract you. Because if it's not now, then when? And the transformation, I mean, you're constantly evolving, you're constantly learning, you're constantly changing. And when you can give yourself a community and a and a mentor like yourself, Hannah, that is not going to sugarcoat stuff, not going to, you tell it how it is, but
Mhm.
and in the most beautiful way that doesn't make you feel like you're doing something wrong or you should be doing it differently. Like, there is so much compassion and there's so much support here, and true desire to see everyone succeed. And sometimes if you can't see that yourself, you want to be in those circles because you know deep down that you're meant for more. You're meant for this. And so give yourself that gift. Don't let your thoughts or like just follow your heart, follow your gut. And that's all I will say, because that's what I did, and it was the best thing that could have happened.
Thank you, Natalia. And just to close that, that's such a beautiful share. When we talk about the full body yes, it's like the yes that's underneath the fear, because sometimes the fear isn't even financial. It's like, well, will I find the time? What if it's too big of a commitment? Or it can even be fear of who am I going to be when I transform, right? And so sometimes we allow the personal patterns to stack so much that it's unbearable to do something to actually deepen and to change it. But you don't need to get to that point. That's like you don't need it to be really bad to justify actually upping the level. And the reason that we do an application process with the certification is because if we don't genuinely believe that you're going to succeed with this, we will not let you enter those doors, right? For our intensives, for our low ticket, there's not an application there. If you'd like to do it, you can do it. But with the certification, right, it really is for people built for something different, right? It really isn't. So if we're saying yes on an application form, if we're saying yes in the DMs, it's because we genuinely know that it's going to benefit you. Because I turn people down for the certification. And I do because, ethically, you don't want to be bringing people into a program that's actually not right for them. And to leave it on this, it's like when we're surrounded by people that are stuck in limitation, it's extremely hard to keep believing in possibility. It is extremely hard to keep believing in possibility. The community, what it does is it raises everyone up, but not in like a cheerleader full of shit way, like genuinely vibrationally and energetically. And people genuinely want you to win. And that's why it's really important what I say about the conflict, because you know, in the community, I would say, because even if people have some comparison stuff personally come up, they work with it and they've got the tools to release it. They don't project it onto the other person in some form of dramatic way that we can see in other spaces. The certification begins on the 1st of January. The final day to enroll is December 30th. The final day to get the bonuses is December 24th. I'm recording this in 2025. I say this in case someone's found us in 2030 randomly and they're, looking at the times. The next time to join would be in 2027. Okay. The certification is 25,000 in full, 30,000 with the VIP. You can pay with payment plan. I realized last night as I went to bed and I closed my eyes, I didn't fucking tell anyone they could pay on payment plan. So there are payment plans. Just message us about that information. You can do monthly or you can do lump sums. People prefer different things. Usually it's fine. It's not going to be a big issue. Okay. I really, really, really appreciate your time, Natalia. And exactly like Natalia said, if not now, when? What's the point of putting it off? And that's a philosophy that I've got in business. Why put something into the future that I could actually deal with now? And that's what builds momentum. Because why also settle for a life that's okay, but your spark's gone, and there's actually a way that you can get that back. Any final words, Natalia?
Well, that was summed up beautifully.
And thank you for doing this when you've been poorly and you're like Gracie did it through dinner, you did it whilst poorly. I really, really, really appreciate your time. Natalia took me to an event last week. And maybe she danced too hard. We thought we were going to a network event. That is not what we went to. So she, very funny. So in my head, that's why you're poorly, but it's not because you can't ever dance so much. That's what Natalia texted me and said. Thank you everyone very much for listening to this. And I'm sending you all so much love. And I'll see you guys in my DMs. The link to apply is on the YouTube description. Just click that top link or message me on any social media platform to get the link to apply. And if you're an email person, just use team@theschoolofintegrativehealing.com and we'll send you the application form there too. Ciao.